Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming to our informational night about the dangers of vaping and the increased use of vaping in schools and by younger people. So, one of the things that's really important to understand when it comes to our discussion tonight is everybody that's here tonight. So we have a nurse from Powder Mill School, grades 3 through 6. We have a nurse from the high school. We have Officer Sanders, who was an officer at the Southwick Regional School, grades 7 through 12, for a few years. We worked together there last year. Now we're reunited down here at Powder Mill School this year, grades 3 through 6. Um, so we also have professionals. We have health professionals from the town of Southwick. So we have Tricia Sedlow and Kayleen Simmons, who are here from the health department to experts to give us more information about vaping. And I really want you guys to understand that this lens is really coming from trying to help support students and especially parents and families in trying to prevent vaping and trying to avoid the health hazards and potential downfalls of vaping. So that's the goal of tonight. It's not to ruin anybody, it's not to make it difficult for people. It's not to um, you know, it's really to support students. So it's really from that lens. All of us got into the roles that we're in. I'm Chuck Jazak, by the way. I'm the assistant principal at Powder Mill School. All of us became what we are, whatever our roles are, because we want to help kids. So this is not to scare anybody or to punish anybody. This is to provide support for families and students to make the best choices. Anyway, what we're going to do now is I'm going to hand this over to Officer Sanders, who has a bunch of information. He's an expert. We have worked together on so many issues. So I'm going to hand this over to Officer Sanders right now, who will give you some more information and start the seminar.
Good evening, everybody. So, right off the bat, I'll introduce myself. I'm Officer Kyle Sanders. I am the school resource officer currently assigned at Woodland and Powder Mill School. This is the first year we have two school resource officers. So, Officer Matt Olson is currently serving the high school. In the past, like the last 4 school years, I was at all 3 schools. So, before this school year, I had to deal with all the vaping that happened up at the high school. So a very important thing to realize is that vapes come in many types and shapes, sizes. They're easily hidden. Thing that parents think a lot is that when you vape, that it exhales this big fog cloud. That's not typically the case. That's only with the certain devices. Some indicators that you might have if you walk into a child's bedroom or family room could be a fruit smell in the air, candy, or even we've had at the high school where it was a maple syrup smell. One of the main devices that you can do a little research. I know I've talked to some of the presenters. You'll see a picture of some of them, but you should be looking for something that says Elf Bar. So these devices are really, in a bad way, manufactured to appeal to children. So the Elf Bar, for example, comes in 66 different flavors. These flavors include strawberry mango, beach day, rainbow clouds, watermelon bubblegum, peach ice, stars, and grape energy. So when you're searching or looking just, in your kid's room, if you're suspecting of vaping, you should be looking for something that might, it could resemble a USB drive. It could very well look like a pen. The pen devices, now you're onto another thing, which is a device that can vape marijuana, which we also have dealt with at the high school. So you need to be looking for these things. They'll say nicotine. Big giveaways that they have this little mouthpiece to them. But please do your research on all the different variety of devices. So some statistics from the past 2 years, so I can't speak for this year because I'm not assigned to the regional school anymore, is that over the last 2 years, there were 20 incidents that led to a town of Southwick civil citation being issued from me to a student. So that 20 isn't the total number of vapes that were recovered due to searches or suspects or any investigation that administrators might have had. Those are the only ones that led to a citation being issued. Some age variety that goes with this, just for your knowledge to say, well, not my kid when they're 12 or 13. So we've had one 12-year-old that I issued a citation to, five 13-year-olds, two 14-year-olds, three 15-year-olds, four 16-year-olds, and five 17-year-olds. Now, 15 of those vape devices were nicotine, and five of those vape devices were actually THC oil or marijuana. So that's very scary that what could be perceived as a nicotine device is actually marijuana, and you would never suspect this. That leads to the question of how are children obtaining them? So we found that because kids are honest when you're asking them, that it's either they're getting them from their siblings, like their siblings are buying them, could be cousins. They also could be taking them from parents, aunts, uncles, wherever they might be able to get a hold of them, because as parents, maybe you believe that I can leave this on the counter and my kid's not going to try it. I can assure you that if something like that is left out, they're going to. Um, the way previous vape incidents, while my tenure up at the high school, the way it'll get handled is um, if a student is found in possession of vaping or actually caught vaping, there will be school disciplines from their administrator. They will be enrolled in an educational diversion program, whether it be some type of internet learning or spending time with different groups up at the high school. It may be time with spending with the athletic director if they're an athlete, the SRO, the school nurse, the health teacher up at the high school, and then they wrap it up again with the administrator to go over everything they've learned during that time. But also some penalties that will go with it, because I mentioned that citation. So this is a Town of Southwick bylaw citation for vaping on school grounds. So this results in, or may result in a $100 fine assigned to the student. They also may get penalized with the athletic director if they are playing a sports. And when they're caught, it doesn't matter if, say, it's soccer season and they don't play soccer, they play basketball. Well, the way the athletic director has to follow the rules for everything that his guidelines say, that student or athlete then loses half, competing in half of the next season. So even if they're caught in September and basketball is until December, they're still going to lose out on half of that um, professional year for them. So a main thing to look for is in drawers, cubbies, things like that, even half suspecting them. Now, with that, if you suspect that, you can always utilize your school administrator to arrange these things. You could email your SRO and ask they speak with them, or better yet, anytime that we have dealt with this, it's always done in conjunction with administrator, school counselor, and the school nurse, just to make sure that the child understands the health risks and everything that goes with vaping, never mind at school, but while they're out of school. Because it is so addicting and kids have no perception of what they're actually putting into their bodies with this, instead of what would be, if you're comparing this to cigarette smoking, where you'd say, oh, people smoke a pack a day or 2 packs a day. Childs very well can do 5 packs a day, depending on how often they're vaping out of that vape device. So it's very scary how fast, and how, if it ends up leading to where your child is vaping in high school or in middle school or wherever they're vaping, that how much are they doing it outside of school where they know that there's potentially no penalties. So it's all these things just to take into consideration and go over your child with.
All right, thank you, Officer Sanders. So what we're going to do now is we're going to hand it over to the experts from our town's health department.
Right. We'll move, just share my screen. Oops. Sierra, sorry, bear with me. Perfect. So my name is Kayleen Simons. I am a shared service coordinator for the Western Hamden County Public Health District. We serve the towns of Southwick, Granville, Tolland, Montgomery, Blandford, and Russell. I have my master's in public health, and with me today is Nurse Tricia Sedlow, who is a registered nurse with our district as well. We just want to give a quick disclaimer that we are not subject matter experts on vaping, but we do have years of experience and education in public health, and we have studied these for quite some time. All the statistics and facts that we're taking are from reputable scientific sources, including the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, Health and Human Service Agency, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Parents Against Vaping Organization, and the American Lung Association. We do intend for this presentation to be about 30 minutes. And we also wanted to remind people to remain muted, and we will insert questions into the chat. And following this, we will have some question and answers. So without further ado, here we go.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. We appreciate your attendance here. We thought we would start with what is vaping? What is nicotine? So for those that maybe have no idea what it is, and you're here joining us tonight to learn, we thought we would start there. And again, I am Tricia Sedlow. I am the public health nurse for the 6-town district, and our main town is Southwick. And so here we are for our presentation with the great schools. We appreciate Vice Principal, I was gonna call you Vice President, Vice Principal Jasek here. And we thank him and Officer Sanders for asking us to do this for you. So we'll start with what is nicotine and how do we use it? So how do people use tobacco and nicotine? People can smoke, sniff, chew, or inhale the vapors of tobacco and nicotine products. Nicotine is absorbed into your bloodstream and goes to your adrenal glands. The glands release adrenaline, which increases your blood pressure, breathing, and heart rate. Adrenaline also gives you lots of good feelings all at once. While nicotine is addictive, most of the health effects come from other tobacco chemicals. Tobacco use harms every organ in your body. Smoking tobacco products can cause lung, mouth, stomach, kidney, and bladder cancers. It can also cause lung problems like coughing and lead to heart disease, eye problems, and yellow teeth. Smokeless tobacco products are dangerous too. They can cause oral cancer, heart, and gum disease. Vaping is using a handheld electronic device to breathe a mist or vapor into your lungs. An e-cigarette, vape pen, or other ENDS, which stands for Electronic Delivery Nicotine System, heats a liquid of nicotine, flavoring, propylene glycol, and other additives into an aerosol that you inhale through a mouthpiece. Vaping can cause breathing problems, organ damage, addiction, and many other conditions. The presentation that we're talking about this evening is demonstrating the transition from middle to high school. We're hoping to give you lots of facts that when your children are in the high school, they'll have these facts and know what to look out for. But really, as Officer Sanders had said, vaping starts as early as 11 or 12 years old, and that is happening in middle school. Some statistics we have for you, among Massachusetts high school youth, nearly half, 44.8%, have used e-cigarettes. This far surpasses the use of cigarettes, which was 27.8% in 2015. So just think about that rate. It's certainly much higher than it was for cigarettes back in 2015. High school youth are much more likely to use e-cigarettes than adults. This has not been a case for cigarettes. While the current youth cigarette use rate in Massachusetts is just half of the adult use rate, so it was 7.7 versus 14%. The current youth e-cigarette rate is more than 9 times higher than the adult use rate. So you're looking at 23.7 versus 2.6, and these are children. Vaping is often thought of as a safer than cigarette smoking, but vaping causes health problems too. Both vaping and smoking are addictive, bring potentially dangerous chemicals into your body, and the levels of many of these chemicals is higher when you burn tobacco. Vaping hasn't been around long enough for us to know what kind of long-term damage it may cause. Next slide, please. All right, so here we have the chemical compounds of vapes and e-cigarettes. These are just a small amount, and as you see, we're saying they're used as a pesticide, found in car exhaust, heavy metals, nickel, tin, and lead, and then one causes what they're calling popcorn lung. So they've also tested the vape clouds, and more than 70 chemicals have been found in vape clouds. So popcorn lung is a disease that affects the bronchioles, which are the small airways in the lungs. The disease can be treated but not cured. The name probably comes from when researchers first identified the disease among workers in a microwave popcorn factory. The workers had breathed in diacetyl, a flavoring chemical used to make the popcorn taste buttery. Other industries used it for flavoring. Providers diagnosed workers in those other industries who had breathed in diacetyl with popcorn lung. The liquid in electronic cigarettes or vapes contains diacetyl. Exposure to these chemicals can happen at work or by vaping. E-cigarettes have many types of chemicals in them that may be dangerous to your lung tissue. It's thought that the vapor may affect not only the person vaping, but also the people around them. So popcorn lung isn't contagious. You can't get it from other people or give it to other people. It happens because you're inhaling toxic chemicals. Next slide.
So why do students vape? We looked at a lot of different research articles and we found the majority of the reasons students start vaping so young is all of these, so including anxiety, peer pressure, curiosity, family and friend use. I know Officer Sanders had talked about that, and tobacco companies advertising towards youth. And the flavored product availability. We do want to mention, though, flavored vape products in Massachusetts are illegal, but due to the fact that Southwick is so close to the border of Connecticut, it is extremely easy for our young students to be getting products flavored. And that has been a major lawsuit across all of the United States, is these tobacco companies are really advertising to kids these different flavors, the shapes, the fun colors. These kids are so young that these are all enticing and makes you want to try them. And the addictive nature of these products, it just creates a pattern that is extremely dangerous at such a young age and developmental age that we're seeing all these very scary health consequences. I don't know if you want to add more to this.
Yeah, and it's a fact that research shows that kids who stop at stores with tobacco 2 or more times a week are 64% more likely to start smoking than their peers who don't. So the tobacco industry uses 3 main tactics in its efforts to hook kids on tobacco: sweet, cheap, easy to get. Easy to get, corner store, grocery stores, mini mart, and any other type of retail store. We see them all over the place. And number 1 on our list here is anxiety. So mental health is a growing concern among youth. Researchers and clinicians theorize that anxiety among today's children and adolescents may be intensifying for a variety of reasons, including increased pressure to succeed in school. Growing up in an age of social media and living in a world where mass shootings frequently dominate the news. Youth vaping and cigarette use are associated with mental health symptoms such as depression. The most common reason middle and high school students give for currently using e-cigarettes is, "I'm feeling anxious, stressed, or depressed." We need to encourage youth to seek other ways to deal with anxiety or stressful situations. Nicotine addiction or withdrawal can contribute to these feelings and even make them worse. Youth may use tobacco products to relieve their symptoms, which can lead to a cycle of nicotine addiction. Some ways to deal with anxiety: encourage your child to sleep, eat, and be active. Help your teen evaluate and locate the source of their anxiety. Teach your child how to examine their feelings, talk about their feelings, make relationships a top priority. Reduce or eliminate screen time whenever possible, and if necessary, please get your child the professional help they may need. Some comments we did see when we were doing our research was from children: "I like the flavors, but now I have to use it as soon as I wake up. I'm tired of my throat and lungs burning when I take a hit. I can't run like I used to. I used it to deal with stress, but now I'm stressed when I don't use it."
And we do have a video. Oops, Is not the video. To show. That would be good if you could. Oh, sorry.
Vaping becomes a very appealing for teenagers because to start with is new technology, it's a gadget. And some of these gadgets are actually very sleek and cool looking. So it's basically you get conditioned to the gadget. On top of these devices are delivering, whether it's nicotine or THC, flavors. And flavors are a very powerful way to condition you to other stimuli. So anything that's ultimately very basic into the way that we get conditioned to food, to flavors and smells. And so here you have a device that has the new technology, the appeal of being it cool, and then on top of that, it has these very tasty flavors that then become appealing on themselves. And then you put in nicotine, which is going to make everything more reinforcing, because nicotine is a drug that activates the dopamine neurons. And dopamine neurons are there in your brain to assign something as salient, as worthwhile, as motivating. And then the flavor is good. And then you have nicotine, which enhances that. It makes it even more salient. And that is really a terrible combination for accelerating the addictiveness of a product. The other appealing component for a teenager and of great concern is that you can use the vaping devices to deliver a 9-THC, which is the active ingredient of marijuana, the reason why people get high on it. But you can put it in a concentrate that's almost 100%. That vaping is now the way by which teenagers are getting cannabinoids into their system in a way that's actually going to have a higher purity and therefore may be associated with even more worse adverse effects.
Okay, so effects of vaping. And as we have right at the top of the slide here, there's no FDA oversight of these products. We talk about EVALI, EVALI, which stands for e-cigarette or vaping product use associated lung injury. EVALI was first identified in 2019 and was closely monitored by the CDC and the FDA due to the rapid onset of the severe pulmonary illness. After a sharp peak in cases in the fall of 2019, cases steadily declined due to the effective public health messaging. The American Lung Association maintains a large collection of information on e-cigarettes and lung health. Healthcare providers can share this information with patients who use these cigarettes, parents and teens, and anyone else to help educate about the potential dangers of e-cigarette use. Even with e-cigarettes entering the market about a decade ago, we are still learning the long-term effects. With the breakout of the Valley, researchers continue to learn as much as possible about the illness, its causes, and the most effective treatments. And you'll see in the short term, reduced lung function, increase in resting heart rate, teeth decay. We talked about discoloration already, your decreased smell and taste, mental health effects, academic performance, diminished sports performance, tiredness, the coloring of your skin, you don't look healthy. And in long term, asthma, lung cancer, COPD, stomach cancers, mouth and throat cancer, heart disease, gum disease, kidney and bladder cancer. And then the irreparable damage to the systems, respiratory, gastrointestinal, visual, and EVALI.
Yeah. And we're also not trying to totally scare young kids or parents, because we're hoping that the younger these kids, if there is an addiction to start, we can stop the process that we will talk about a little later, but not to scare parents, but types of vapes. I know Officer Sanders had talked about this, but they come in all different shapes, sizes, types. It is scary, the market that is growing. It is just all appealed to children. They are trying any way they can to make these even more secretive. Like he had previously said, there is no big puff cloud anymore. It's very easy to hide. And that is one of our biggest concerns in public health right now. So we have another video to show parents what they kind of look like and how to spot them.
Like,
I would never think that. Today, we're gonna be spotting the vapes. As you can see, there's a lot of different items that we placed on the table, and we want to hear from you, which ones you think are vapes, and maybe those that are probably school supplies.
Okay, let's see. That could be one. That could be another one.
Mhm,
That might be one.
mhm,
Like that one,
mhm.
that one too.
Okay, yeah.
Almost some.
For the most part, you did catch, some. Here are some that you might have missed. This sweatshirt here is actually a vape device, believe it or not. You can see here
Oh my God.
that it is a vape
Okay.
device. And then here you can see that this watch right here too, it might look like an Apple Watch, but it's actually a vape device. And right here, believe it or not, this backpack as well. And so you can see how easily it blends in with everyday things that we think that our children use.
Wow, I'm surprised. I didn't think that a watch or a hoodie or a backpack, and much less a pen could be a vape.
Have you ever seen the magic glasses that can
All right, so more than 80% of the calls to the US Poison Control Center are for e-cigarettes for children less than 5 years of age. So that's a substantial percentage of children that are being poisoned and that probably, you know, their older brother or sister left around and they got their hands on it. So it affects the entire family. Look for signs of vaping in your youth, which again, Officer Sanders did a great job with. We'll just, you know, go over them quickly again. Sweet or unusual smell from vapes, finding unfamiliar products, a change in your child's behavior or mood. You know your child best. If you feel that there's some behavior change or different mood, then it's best to address that with them and see what's going on. If they're being more secretive, if they're going to the bathroom more often, or requesting to be alone more frequently, and lack of energy. Ask questions and listen. Find out what they know about vaping and tobacco use, why they started, what products they're using, and what's been stressing them. It could take several brief conversations to build up trust. Do something else, find other things to take their mind off vaping using tobacco. Physical activity, it doesn't have to be playing a sport. It could be going for a walk, a run, a bike ride, working on hobbies, calling or texting a friend, doing anything to distract them from the urge to vape or use tobacco. Avoid some situations or places. Certain places, events can trigger the brain's craving for nicotine. They can make it hard to say no to cravings or offer to vape. Practice with your teen how they can respond if friends ask them to vape or use tobacco. And again, you know your child best. Listen to the guidance from the officer and the, you know, educators at the school and work with them to help your child. Next slide.
So local penalties for vaping, I think Officer Sanders already did a great job at explaining this from his perspective working in the schools, but we just want to highlight the vapes will be confiscated. There will be meetings with your parent, guardian, as well as the administrators, the resource officer. He talked a lot about the sports season, your current or your next one. Half of the season will be suspended. You may be enrolled in a smoking cessation program. And because we work for the Department of Public Health of Massachusetts, I also want to highlight if any parent knows their student is getting flavored devices anywhere in Massachusetts, that is illegal. So we really want to highlight that you report that to your local Board of Health, whatever town that might be in. If it is in Massachusetts, that is illegal. So we really want to highlight the importance of reporting that because we really want to reduce those products towards children. So there are some resources to quit though, as a high note.
Yes. So for students dealing with anxiety issues, the guidance counselors in the school, certainly the nurses at your school, your pediatrician, your outside mental health counselor, There is a behavioral health hotline, which we have the number here. There's the Child Anxiety Network. Of course, if you dial 988, it is a lifeline. It is 24/7. And the helpline ma.org, again, free confidential resources to all Mass residents. And then for vaping resources, there's 1-800-QUIT-NOW. Mass.gov vaping has lots of information. This is quitting powered by Truth. My Life, My Quit, which is a wonderful site. teensmokefree.gov, and the American Lung is another wonderful resource.
And there is also the Parents Against Vaping organization that is really great for parents who are looking to gain some advice for their students. So that's great.
And as far as the Parents Against Vaping, they actually have a seminar coming up. It's 2025 Clear the Vape Conversation. This one is From Vaping to Edibles, Addressing the Evolving Landscape of Youth Marijuana Consumption. It's on Tuesday, April 22nd, at 6 o'clock at night. And there is a subject matter expert here for this presentation. She's a nationally recognized expert and speaker for One Chance to Grow Up. And she has a lot of information to offer. And I look at their site a lot. If I were a parent with a child in school and having some issues with vaping, I would use that site because they have so many resources. They have many programs. Most of them are free. Some there's a fee, but they have a lot of subject matter experts, and the information they provide and is wonderful, but they have parent interaction. So you could actually speak with another parent who is having similar issues, the same as you. And that's always wonderful to be able to talk with another parent who can understand what you're going through and even offer you as the parent help, because it isn't easy, especially once they get to the point of being addicted. It's a whole different set of problems and how to get through it. So it's a lot of stress on the parent as well.
And here we just have all of the contact information for everyone here at the meeting today. We feel free to email us. We try our best to know as much as we can with these topics, as well as we are grant funded through the Department of Massachusetts Public Health. So we do have a lot of resources through them as well to help parents and their students. Yeah, thank you so much. And we are able to take any questions if there are any, so I can stop sharing.
Do any of the families online right now, do you guys have any questions? All right, I have a few that came in earlier today that I can ask. And families, if you guys do have any questions, feel free to interrupt. Not a big deal. So I'm going to ask actually Nurse Cindy. I'm going to ask you first. If I want to have a conversation with my 6th grade student, because that's really what this webinar was geared to, what would you say is the best way to approach a conversation with a student about the dangers of vaping or about vaping in general?
Okay, so here's my 6th grade student. And we're pretty open. We already had this conversation. I asked him if he knows what it is. I asked him if he's ever tried it, if he's ever wanted to try it, if his friends have tried it. So we keep it pretty honest, pretty open.
All right, thank you very much. Anybody else want to comment on that? How to start that conversation with your middle school student?
I think just being honest, like Nurse Cindy said, because they're going to get the information somewhere and you want them to be getting truthful and factual information from a trusted source like yourself, because they are going to hear about it at school, with their friends, on the bus, in the community. And you really want to guide that information and have them equipped with the right information before they're getting, information from their friends and their peers.
My next question actually kind of piggybacks on that one. So what if a student is caught vaping? Because this is supposed to be informational for parents. So Nurse Ashley, Nurse Cindy, or Kayleen or Trisha, or Officer Sanders, what do you guys think is the right approach? A student is caught with a vape, they're using the vaping device. How can parents best support their students at that point?
I can start from a public health perspective. I think shaming your child for having the device or using a nicotine product is the worst first step you can have. I think communication is key. So I think seeing where your child is at, understanding why they chose to start vaping or why they chose to start using any of the products we've listed today, and just trying to understand where they're at. Is there the reason of peer pressure, anxiety? Are they feeling like they're not fitting into a group because they don't vape? Things like that. I think seeing where that child is at that time is the most important part. That's the first step. And then you can go on from there and try to get them the resources that we highlighted here today. Because it is such an addictive chemical. Nicotine is a really scary chemical, and it's a process. It will be a process. So I think that's the first step.
I think I'd like to follow up right with that. So, Principal Jasak, like, with any of those meetings we've had with families as a student is found, whether it's possession of vape or found to be vaping, that with the school counselor present with us, we, asking the student, like, why? The question of what led you to do this. And like you had said, it's a lot of times it ends up being that the student says, like, it helps me with my anxiety. And having the parent there with the school counselor to help get them to that, understanding that, okay, we're here now, this happened, it's not the end of the world, and that getting your child the resources it needs. And this is where the school nurse has assisted with possible treatment places, whether if it's that far addicted, getting the information to show them that how bad it is for you, but just getting to the root of the why you started this. And instead of self-medicating with whatever they felt was easiest, but to speak to your child and to show them that you're there for them and that we can take this to a pediatrician with them to say, okay, we're having anxiety issues. This is where we led to vaping because it was helping me, and just taking that next step as a family and being there to understand them versus being angry with them, because all we're there for, like the disciplines from the school, the citations, it really comes down to just ensuring that the child is getting the help they need from the right people, which would be their pediatrician, whether it or could be a mental health person, professional, and that's all utilized through the team of the administrator, the school nurse, and however the SRO would be able to help.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but based on what we talked about, it seems like the anxiety that they're trying to treat could have been caused or exacerbated, made worse by the vaping device itself.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Last question, just because so many people, I guess like cigarettes have been around for so long, like we're comfortable, like people, even if they don't smoke, they kind of have an understanding of, classic tobacco cigarettes. What is the level of addictiveness or addiction compared to, like, if you compare a vaping device and the nicotine and the amount of nicotine you're receiving in a vaping device compared to a regular cigarette, is a vaping device more addictive, exactly as addictive as a cigarette, or less addictive? And do we know that?
We don't, I would say we don't have enough evidence to say fully yet that it's more or less addictive. It is a concentrated device. So yes, it probably is the same amount of nicotine as a pack of cigarettes or more at this point. I think they're studying.
Yeah.
So I would say from a personal perspective, it's unknown. It's scary. And that's the worst part. We've had years to study cigarettes, tobacco, the addictiveness, the health effects of cigarettes. This is frightening because so much has come out in such a short period of time. When we look in 10 to 15 years of the effects of vaping, it could be very scary, could be very staggering. I don't know if you have more to
Yeah, I
say.
would agree with that, and I think the other take home is the chemicals that they're
Yeah.
putting in. That's the biggest question, like, what are these chemicals gonna do?
It's more, it's more.
It's got, I would say it's going to be worse, that's
Yeah.
what I would think. I mean, we see what it's doing with, and with cigarettes, it took a long time for us to realize what the damage was. You know, people would get COPD later in life sometimes. With these, if it's already starting and they just started coming out 10 years ago and they're already seeing popcorn lung, we're gonna start seeing much worse things. And we know that some of them are gonna be untreatable, just like popcorn lung, so, you know, it's uncurable, so.
Any last questions from our parents or families?
I have a quick question, probably more for Officer Sanders, but it was my understanding that when it's in a vape pen with the liquid, the THC, it's not considered marijuana, or I just have experience that these kids in the high school are getting these devices through social media, particularly Snapchat. And
Nope. So just like where people are obtaining this vape oil, right? This is something that people can buy from a dispensary, but this is it absolutely is THC, which is the active ingredient in there,
Mhm.
right? So that is what qualifies it as the marijuana product, is that it contains the THC, and that, as you said, like it is in that vape pen, right? So it looks just like a clicky pen, and you see the little cylinder in there. So you have the energizer portion, like the battery side, that will power the other end, right? So a student found in possession of that, even just having the oil, right? Because that oil itself is the marijuana with
So,
containing the THC.
so there's only laws or only ways to prosecute and document it if it's on school property, but outside of school,
So
if it's
marijuana
found
laws is
that's,
under the age of 21, right? So just to, well, I'll do a quick
but
synopsis
I'm
of
talking
how.
about specifically someone who is an adult selling to a minor.
Yeah,
It was
obviously
my
that's
understanding that there's
certainly
not
against the law. You
laws.
can't possess marijuana under the age of 21, or, it's still dealing drugs. You can legally purchase marijuana properly through a legal dispensary and everything that goes with that. I'm not a professional in the legalities behind dispensaries and everything like that, but certainly I can say that if somebody is selling a THC pen to a child, that's illegal.
So I know your question is about the teeth of the law, but it's also I can talk from the school side. So from the school side, it's taken very seriously. So drugs is one of the Massachusetts has discouraged a lot of suspensions, the use of suspensions for schools. But one area that they still, I don't want to use the word require, but essentially require schools to, issue suspensions is for drug related products. So the school takes it very, very seriously. Officer Sanders and I have worked together on those issues. On the school side and the law side, it's taken very, very seriously when those products are found. And the school takes it seriously, and Officer Sanders has done his due diligence to take that seriously as well. So I want you to know from the school side that we have handled that on a few occasions, and the devices up at the high school, they work very well for the THC. They work just as well. Pick up the THC, vape it, vape in the air, the same as the nicotine versions. Any other questions from you guys? Well, oh, I thought I heard somebody unmute. I appreciate your time. At this time, Kayleen, I guess we can stop recording. We can let these folks go. I'd like for the team to